Hi again, folks. This is your serial cynic. And this is going to be a topic that is going to lose some of you, whoever watches this channel. So let me just give a little bit of a background. This video, believe it or not, is actually about a reggae artist. Rather popular reggae artist, pretty much well known, had quite a bit of hits. And his name happens to be Mr. Vegas. I wouldn't say I listened to Mr. Vegas back in his heyday, but he had such popular hits that they just eventually grew on you over time. I think his first big hit, or at least international hit that everybody knows, is the song Heads High. Um, talented, talented guy, when it comes to his music. Um, I sort of got to know a little bit more about him because of Facebook and because of his Facebook fan page. And I signed up on his page because of some other topic. I think he was talking about some area in Jamaica that the Chinese were courting Jamaicans to try to get that portion of land or whatever the case might be. So he had some concerns. So I happened to see him talking about that. I wasn't a fan of his page, but I think I happened to see someone comment on something over there, and it got me interested, so I decided to go over there to check it out. While I was there, at some point not long after, I think he converted to Christianity, or he started to talk in that direction about Christianity. Then I think eventually he did become a Christian. But by this time, I had already signed up on his page. I could comment and so forth. So when he would put up certain things, and because he had a huge following, you had people who would come in there to mention certain things about Christianity, and I would go in and I would give my 2 cents. Now, I'm a former Christian. Years ago, I was into Christianity. I'm no longer that. Proud that I'm no longer that either. And so I would go in there and I would see some people putting down some crazy comments and so forth. So I would just go in to just basically set the record straight about certain things that they were saying. Of course, my views were dissenting from a lot of people who were there. Many times Vegas came in as somewhat of a moderator, and he just wanted to know why was I saying things that would cause people to doubt their beliefs. And him and I never had an issue. We never had any issues or whatever. He would just put certain things up. I was always very respectful. He can tell you that if he remembers who I am. I was always very respectful. Never said anything nasty to certain people. But I was just there to more or less keep the record straight. Okay? I wasn't trying to tell people they can't believe whatever they were believing. But some of the things were just really off the wall and just really crazy. And as a former Christian and a person who was really into Christianity and really into their Bible, believe it or not, I still squirm when I see people twisting up the Bible and throwing things all out of context and so forth. While I do not take the book serious to heart or something I live by, I still just figure it deserves respect, at least to do the proper exegesis on the book. Not to go out there just grabbing things and pulling them out of context and taking verses and making them mean what you want them to mean and so forth. So while I was there doing this, of course, I would put up certain things, and the type of person I am, I had to elaborate on what my points were and back them up with facts or back them up with concrete evidence of what I was trying to say. It may have bothered Mr. Vegas because at the time, it looks like he was trying to build his base with the Christian community. And here I come saying things that would have people thinking. That thing back there looks kind of weird behind my head. But anyway, this is my daughter's room, by the way. So I would say certain things, and I think it may have made him feel somewhat uncomfortable, or I was distracting from what he wanted, which was basically to build within and around the Christian community. I guess you could say primarily in Jamaica. Now, when he was doing this, there were a couple of times I wrote him behind the scenes to help him out with certain things, to make certain points to him, and he was very appreciative. But one day I decided to go back to the page. And as I go back to the page, and as I go back to the page, I happen to notice that I can't comment. And it looks like I don't know if I want to say the word blocked, but I guess that's what it is. Either blocked me or prevented me from posting on his page. Whether this was intentional, whether he was weeding out certain people, I happened to be one of them, or it was by accident, I can't say. I couldn't reach him to ask him, hey, what's going on? We didn't have a problem, like, hey, what happened? So, okay, I left it. No love lost. It's his page and everything like that. So I wasn't angry or upset. I just chalked it up as, well, maybe my voice just wasn't one that he wanted to hear, or perhaps, again, it could have just been an accident or something along that line. So, all this time has gone by. So today, I happen to be sitting there, and I'm doing my usual, looking for some reggae songs to listen to. And as I'm there, I pulled up DeVille's song, Have You Ever Been in Love? Basically a remake, a cover of Dennis Brown's hit. So I'm sitting there, and you know how YouTube would have other videos you can listen to. I look over on the other side, and I happen to see Mr. Vegas is no longer Christian, or something along that line, or Mr. Vegas burning the Bible. So I thought this was like an older video before he actually became a Christian. So when I looked, I happened to notice the date is late February of 2018. I'm like, oh? So I decided to look a little further, and I saw some other videos with him. Now, admittedly, I have not listened to all of these videos because some of them are rather lengthy. But I just listened to what he was saying in some of the videos, and it seems like he had an epiphany. He had some sort of a moment where I guess some of the things that he was believing just wasn't making sense anymore. Which is what I was trying to say when I was on his page, that I am no longer a Christian because there were things that just didn't make sense to me anymore. Now, again, I have not listened to the entire videos that he's done, so I don't exactly know where he's at, but I picked that up, that he's no longer that type of Christian anymore. I don't know if he still calls himself a Christian or not, but he seems like he sees some issues with Christianity. It looks like he still holds on to things that he sees in the Old Testament, but he sees some issue with the Christianity that has been handed down to us as black folks, at least in the Caribbean. He's from Jamaica. I'm from the Virgin Islands. So I think he sees some sort of an issue with it. And I heard him talking about things like Kemet, an ancient name for Egypt. And I heard him talking about Babylon in Iraq and so forth. So it looks like he's having some sort of he's at a crossroad. And it looks like some of the things that naysayers like me were saying has reached him, has arrived to him. And I happened to hear him mention something in one of his videos. I think he was up at Harvard University. And it looks like he said something where he was admitting that he is thankful that other people who had other things to say, who weren't on the bandwagon, Christianity, Jesus. He looks like those other people who were saying other things eventually kind of got to his ears, which leads to something that I always say. And people always wonder why I waste my time talking to die-hearted, dogmatic, just locked in Christians who don't see nothing else whatsoever. They wonder why I waste my time. Why are you even wasting your time debating with this person or trying to get them to see some sort of sense or whatever, But they're like pig-headed. And I tell people this all the time. A person may not hear you now, but they will listen to you later. And what does that mean? Sometimes you're doing all the talking right now. And it seems like they're not paying, I'm not paying attention to you. Oh, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Don't you know the Bible says this? Don't you know the Bible says that? But sometimes some of the things that you're saying, they're not hearing you now. But somewhere down the road, something goes off. And all of a sudden, wow, they start listening to you. You're no longer around. You're no longer a voice in their ears. But they listen to you later. And it's something similar to like when your parents are talking to you and you're just not paying attention to them or whatever. You become an adult, or or you go out into the real world and it's like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell me. Oh, that's what they were talking about. So it seems like Mr. Vegas has arrived at such a point. And again, I guess I'm going to watch these videos some more to see where he's really going with all of this. I really don't know, again, because I've not watched one from the beginning to the end. But it's quite interesting in terms of some of the things that I used to talk about or hint at. I wouldn't say talk about, because some of the things he's talking about, these are things I never said on this page. But the things that he's hinting at, I guess he's getting to the point where he's realizing that a lot of us have realized that Christianity is not anything unique. It's a lot of borrowed stuff. And it is not all that it's chopped up to be, or what the adherents tell you that it really is. So I guess that's sort of where it's coming to. Now, just to give a little bit more of a background. Now I know I'm here talking. I know I mentioned I'm from the Virgin Islands. And Mr. Vegas is from Jamaica and so forth. But you have to understand that I've been to Jamaica 20 times. I was actually married to a Jamaican for quite a few years. I know Jamaica very well. As a matter of fact, a lot of Jamaicans will tell you that I know it better than them because I've visited so much. There are Jamaicans who've left home and haven't been back in 20, 30, 40 years. Or has gone back home once in 20 years or whatever. But between the early 1990s to the late first part of the decade of the 2000s, I went to Jamaica about 20 times. And I'm talking about Jamaica. Heart of Jamaica, up and down, all in between the everyday life. And not for like a week or so. There were times I went down there for an entire month. So when I used to go to his page, of course, there used to be a lot of Jamaicans on there spotting the usual Batman this and the Bible say God this, that, and whatever, and the usual stuff, you know? So I used to just go in there and sometimes kind of like be that person to like stop them in their tracks. No, the Bible didn't say that. No, the Bible doesn't mean that. And stop using the Bible to promote your hatred or whatever the case might be. So it looks like Mr. Vegas has come around to a point where he's at a crossroad where the stuff that he was believing, he doesn't really believe anymore. And if I'm looking at some of the other videos or some of the comments that I saw, it looks like now the Christian community in Jamaica, which was, of course, I'm sure, more than happy to use him as an example, like, say, a Lady Saw or Papa San, that, oh, God is real. Look how God saved this big-time entertainer and so forth. It looks like he's basically took the air out of some of them, and they might not be quite happy with what he's saying right now, because I think I see some of them already calling him a devil or Satan or whatever the case might be. It's laughable, of course, but he's there right now. Now, based on what I'm saying, he's not going to tell my real name here on YouTube. But if he sees this video, or if any one of you who are his friends or whatever see this video, you can tell him about it. They can come on over here. He may remember who I am. All he has to say is Dexter, and he might remember who I am. And I'm just smiling because I don't know. It's not because I'm here like happy that the man left Christianity or anything like that. You know, it's neither here nor there to me. But it's just interesting how the things I used to hint at or say, because I never used to go full atheist or full agnostic on his page, you know, and on there like, oh, you guys are idiots, believe it. And I never used to do stuff like that. That's not my style. I used to just basically just go ahead and sometimes use the same Bible to show some Christians how silly their beliefs are. Some of their beliefs, I should say. So it's quite interesting to see that. I guess I'm going to go ahead and look at the rest of his videos to see what this is really, really all about. But Vegas, I can just tell you, I don't know where you're going to go with this, but I can just simply just tell you, welcome to the light, so to speak. Okay? Now I know you're probably, it's probably all kind of Jamaicans on your back right now and praying for your downfall and burning fire on you and all these type of things, but it's rather interesting. But just be very careful when it comes to this type of stuff, because the knowledge you're going to get can sometimes, some people can take it and it can drive them crazy. So just take it in stride. I know you're learning. I don't know where you're going to end up. I don't know where you're going to go. For me, to make my life easier and to simplify my life, when I gave up Christianity, I gave up anything to do with religion whatsoever. So I didn't go from this version of Christianity to this enlightened version of Christianity, or from Christianity over to Islam, or from Islam to Rastafari, or I became this and I became. I didn't do any of that to confuse myself anymore. I left Christianity, I left God, Jesus, whatever the case might be, and all religion I shoved to the side. I live by one simple rule that I guess you can say is my religion. And it requires no holy man. It requires no holy book. It requires no church, no synagogue, no temple. It doesn't require going to church. It doesn't require any of that. My simple principle is this. What I do not want done to me, I try my best not to do it to other people. If everyone applied that principle in their life, think about the world we would have. Just by doing that. I don't want somebody to lie to me, don't lie to them. I don't want someone to steal from me, I don't steal from them. Just follow that simple principle. If you look at it, you can live a very fulfilled life, living at peace with your fellow man, and hopefully they reciprocate, and you feel the peace and love from them also. I don't need the fear of hell, the bribe of heaven, God, Jesus, anybody, Allah, whoever, to motivate me to go ahead and do any of that. For me to feel like I better do this because I want some kind of reward, or I better do this because I want to be in heaven somewhere, or I better do this because I want to avoid some hell or something like that. None of those have to be my motivation. So whatever I do, it can come from a genuine heart. I just don't want to do it to someone else because I don't want to have it done to me. Again, don't know where you're going to end up, Vegas, but I wish you the best in your search and wherever you're going, and hope you land on your feet, okay? All right, well, if someone sees the video and know Mr. Vegas and can point him over here to it, knock yourself out, all right? Again, this was a serial cynic. Just had to drop this in. So for those of you who are not even familiar with who I'm talking about or whatever the case might be, you can just look up Mr. Vegas and you'll find out who he is. You've probably heard his music and didn't even know it was him. All right? So Vegas, see, I'm giving you a little plug. Anyway, you guys take care, okay? Bye.